Now that we have all our components in place, let's continue with modeling the bottom part of our enclosure. We'll resume by making a housing for our slide switch here. To do that, we'll first get rid of every component that we're not going to need right now. So let's just get rid of everything besides the slide switch and our bodies. And we'll go to a top view. I'm going to rotate it. And the first thing I'm going to do is just move this slide switch up a little bit. So I'm going to go to move and change it from bodies to components. And I'll explain why in a minute. I know we just finished moving it into place. But we're just going to grab the arrow here and just bring it straight up, just so that we get a little bit of a overlap here between the edge and our bottom of our enclosure. The dimension is not critical, just make sure it overlaps a little bit and then click OK. Now we're going to go to create a sketch and we'll choose that top surface of our bottom part. Click capture position and we're going to click on P for project, and we're going to project these 3 edges on our slide switch, and we'll click OK. And now we'll get rid of bodies and we'll get rid of our slide switch, and we see we'll have this shape. Let's also project this edge here, so P for project, and the edge of our circle, we'll select it, click OK. And now we should be able to click and select this profile here. Okay, next we're going to perform an offset. So let's go to sketch, offset, and we'll select these 3 different lines. And we're going to take this little widget, drag out, and we'll actually just enter 3 on our dialog box and click OK. And we're going to take the inner lines and turn them into construction lines. So we'll take each one of those, select them, and press X to make them into these dashed construction lines. And now we can click on Stop Sketch. If we lose everything, just bring back that sketch light bulb. Click on that surface. If you're having a hard time selecting like I am, it's selecting the entire thing, try clicking, left click and hold, and then you can toggle between the 2 profiles. So select the one that lights up just the inner part, and that'll highlight it blue. E for extrude will bring that up. We don't see anything, so let's bring bodies back, and we're gonna enter 5 millimeters and click OK. Next we'll bring back our slide switch, and you can see it poke through, and we'll go ahead and do a Boolean operation right now. So we'll go to modify, go to combine. Our target body is going to be the circuit playground body, and our tool body is going to be just our slide switch. And we're going to, operation should go to cut if not selected. And we want to keep tools, and it's actually grayed out for me, so it doesn't let you even unchoose it. So everything looks good there. I'm going to click OK. And now if I get rid of our slide switch, we can see that we have our hole there that we created from our switch. So we're gonna need to push this through. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get rid of sketches. I don't need to see that. I'm gonna select the back surface there, hit E for extrude, start extruding it out. Now if I go to distance all, it actually, you can see it here, it'll try to cut through everything that's in its path. So we don't want to do that. Instead, we can either drag it back and just have it go a certain distance. But instead, I'm going to choose distance, and I'm going to go to to object. And then for my object, I'm just going to select the back surface here of this extrusion and click OK. And now that extrudes all the way through. Let's bring our slide switch to see how that looks. And it looks good. We can bring it back now. If you haven't figured it out yet, the reason I brought this forward a bit was so that when we did apply that Boolean operation, it would actually cut all the way through and wouldn't leave a little material in the front here. Okay, let's move this back. So now we can just go right click, click on move, change it from bodies to components, and we can just put this widget right there on top, and then go to a top view, and then we'll just eyeball it back until it's right in that interior position, click OK. And we don't need this actually to extrude all the way out, so we can bring that in a bit. I'm going to click on the back surface, E for extrude, capture position, and we'll slide this back. And it looks like we can bring it back about -2 millimeters. So let's just do a -2. Oops, I did a double negative. -2 millimeters, and click OK. Make sure the operation is set to cut, and OK. And there is our housing for our slide switch. Now, one thing we do have to consider is that's a perfect fit. We don't want a perfect fit because that's going to give us trouble. So what we're going to do is extrude this out a little bit. So we'll hit Q this time instead of E for extrude. We're going to do Q because that's going to give us a press pull offset. And we're going to select each of these, the sides and the top. And I'm actually going to do this different. Let's go ahead and hit Q, and we're going to do them separately, is what I decided. So we'll select these two sides here, 1 and 2, and we'll give this a negative offset of -0.2. That's going to go 0.2 in both directions, so we'll click OK. And for the top, since we're only going in one direction, we'll hit Q, select it, and we'll go -0.4 and hit enter. And now when I bring in our slide switch, we should see that we should have a little gap in there. Since this is at an angle, I can't, no matter which side I go to, I'm not going to get a front view or a direct view right to it. So what you can do here is go to the bottom of your toolbar here, or not the toolbar, the tools we have at the bottom here. Click on the look at option and then click on the surface of that slide switch. And that's going to bring us to a direct view in front of it. For some reason it flipped it on me, I'm not sure why. But we can see that we have our gaps here. Now that gap may be different for every printer. So your tolerances, this is what works for me. But depending on the printer, you may require a little more or a little less. So just note that sometimes, most of the time I should say, it's not just a one shot, you know, and you're going to get it right. Sometimes you have to come in with different iterations to really nail down what your tolerances are. So you may have to print this a couple times to get it right. Okay, let's turn this back over. Go to a home view. And I think we're good with our slide switch. Everything here looks great. So we're going to move on to our next video.